Did Nero really set Rome on fire? A question that has sparked relentless debate throughout centuries. As we peel back the layers of history to the year 64 AD, we find ourselves amidst the flames of the Great Fire of Rome, a disaster of such magnitude that it left the Eternal City in ruins. For 6 long days and 7 nights the fire raged on, consuming almost 3/4 of Rome. The city, once a vibrant hub of culture and power, was reduced to ashes. The grandeur that was Rome now lay in ruins, its people homeless and heartbroken. In the aftermath of this calamity, as Rome smoldered, a name was whispered in hushed tones and echoed through the burnt remains of the city. Nero, the emperor. Some historical accounts suggest that Nero himself started the fire. But why would a ruler destroy his own kingdom? Controversy surrounds these claims, and the truth is mired in the ashes of history. According to Tacitus, a historian of that era, Nero was miles away in Antium during the fire. However, other sources like Cassius Dio and Suetonius suggest the emperor watched Rome burn while playing his lyre, an image that has been immortalized in art and literature. Some even go as far as to say that Nero ordered his guards to fan the flames, to make way for his grand architectural vision, the Domus Aurea, a palace of gold. Yet these accounts have their own contradictions. Some historians argue that the Domus Aurea was planned after the fire, not before. Others suggest that blaming Nero was a convenient way for the Romans to cope with their loss, a way to pin the disaster on a leader already infamous for his extravagance and cruelty. So was Nero really the mastermind behind this catastrophic event, or was he just the scapegoat for a disaster he couldn't control? As we delve deeper into this mystery, we'll explore the reign of Nero, the day of the fire, and the aftermath, in search of answers hidden in the smoky shroud of history. To understand Nero's possible motivations, we have to delve into the time before the fire. Nero, the 5th Roman emperor, ascended to the throne in 54 AD, at the tender age of 17. He was initially well received, gaining popularity through his grand public performances and lavish spectacles. He was a man of the arts, a patron of athletics, and a lover of Greek culture. Quite the unconventional emperor indeed. Nero's reign, however, was not solely marked by theatrics and grandeur. His rule was punctuated by a series of controversial decisions that sent ripples through the Roman Empire. One of his earliest acts, the execution of his mother Agrippina, raised eyebrows and incited whispers of matricide. His extravagance and personal indulgences drained the empire's treasury, leading to an increase in taxes that burdened the Roman citizenry. Nero's reign was also characterized by a tense political climate. His heavy-handed approach towards the Senate, coupled with his perceived neglect of the Roman military, stirred discontent among the ruling class and the military ranks alike. The infamous Pisonian conspiracy of 65 AD, an alleged plot to assassinate Nero, was a clear indication of the growing opposition to his rule. The tension wasn't confined to the political arena. The Roman populace was becoming increasingly divided. On one hand, the lower classes reveled in Nero's games and spectacles, appreciating the distraction from their daily toils. On the other hand, the upper classes, particularly the Stoic philosophers and the traditionalists, viewed Nero's behaviors as a mockery of Roman values and a blatant disregard for the dignity of the imperial office. As Nero's reign progressed, so did his ambitions. His grand vision of a new Rome, complete with magnificent buildings, gardens, and a colossal statue of himself, was met with skepticism and resistance. The exorbitant cost of these projects, funded by the already strained treasury, only added to the growing resentment. As we can see, Nero's reign was fraught with controversy even before the fire. Let's turn our attention to that fateful day in July, 64 AD. The sun rose over the city of Rome, unaware of the calamity that was about to befall its streets. The Great Fire of Rome began in the small shops around the Circus Maximus, the grand stadium for chariot races. Fueled by a fierce wind, the fire quickly grew out of control, consuming everything in its path. The city was thrown into chaos. People were fleeing, carrying whatever belongings they could salvage. The majestic city of Rome, once a symbol of grandeur and power, was now a raging inferno. The fire raged for 6 days and 7 nights, reducing a significant part of the city to ashes. Now let's delve into the controversy surrounding Nero's involvement. The emperor, as per some accounts, was at his villa in Antium, a town some 30 miles away, when the fire broke out. He reportedly rushed back to Rome when he heard the news, but by the time he arrived, much of the city was already in flames. Nero's reactions to the fire have been a subject of much debate. Some sources claim that he was paralyzed by the disaster, while others suggest that he was indifferent, even gleeful, as his city burned. The most infamous account, however, paints a vivid picture of Nero playing his fiddle, serenading the flames as Rome crumbled. This image of Nero, indifferent and even celebrating the destruction, has been etched into our collective consciousness. It's a powerful representation of a leader's callousness in the face of disaster. However, it's important to note that the fiddle wasn't invented until the 11th century, making this account a likely fabrication. History is often a game of Chinese whispers, where the truth can get distorted with each retelling. The fire of Rome is no exception. As Rome burned, rumors quickly spread about Nero's role in the disaster. The question remains, was Nero a heartless tyrant who set his city ablaze, or was he a victim of circumstance and slander? As we delve deeper into the events that followed, perhaps we'll find an answer. While Rome was burning, what was Nero doing? As the inferno raged across Rome, Nero wasn't fiddling, contrary to the popular belief. Instead, he was in Antium, a city some 30 miles away from Rome. When he heard the news of the fire, Nero rushed back to the city. Nero himself directed efforts to combat the blazing fire. He organized a relief effort, which he paid for from his own funds. The emperor opened up his gardens for the displaced Romans and arranged for food supplies to be delivered to the victims. He even made a proposal for a new urban development plan that would make the city less vulnerable to fire. During the fire, Nero displayed qualities of leadership and concern for his citizens, a stark contrast to the image painted by popular anecdotes. He was seen on the streets of Rome, without the insignia of his rank, directing efforts to quell the flames and providing aid to his citizens. The sources from the period, however, present a conflicting picture of Nero's actions during the fire. While some praise his efforts to control the fire and provide relief, others suggest he might have had a sinister role in the incident. Tacitus, a Roman historian, tells us that there were rumors Nero had ordered the fire to be set so he could rebuild Rome in his own image, complete with a magnificent new palace, the Domus Aurea. Yet, Tacitus himself acknowledges that these were mere rumors with no concrete evidence to support them. The historian even goes on to mention Nero's efforts to aid the victims and reconstruct the city. This contradictory depiction of Nero's actions during the fire makes it difficult to fully understand his role during this pivotal event in Roman history. Despite his efforts during the fire, Nero couldn't escape the accusations of his involvement. These allegations would follow Nero for the rest of his reign, casting a long shadow over his legacy. In the aftermath of the fire, Nero's actions raised many eyebrows. The city of Rome, once a vibrant hub of culture and power, was reduced to ashes. The fire had left nothing untouched, and the devastation was unimaginable. In the wake of the disaster, Nero swiftly embarked on an ambitious rebuilding project. His plan? To construct the Domus Aurea, a sprawling palace complex of unparalleled grandeur. This wasn't going to be just any palace, but a golden house. A house so grand it would be a testament to Nero's reign and power. The scale of this project was massive, covering an area that spanned from the Palatine to the Esquiline Hill. However, this plan did not sit well with the public. The fire had left many homeless and desperate, and here was their emperor, planning a palace of gold, while they were left to pick up the pieces of their shattered lives. The disparity between the plight of the people and Nero's grand plans was stark, and it didn't take long for rumors to start spreading. Whispers began to circulate that the fire was not an accident but a plot orchestrated by Nero himself. The purpose? To clear the land for his grand palace. While these rumors were just that, rumors, they fueled the public's growing mistrust and resentment towards Nero. The fire had not only destroyed their homes but also their faith in their leader. For Nero, the rebuilding of Rome was seen as an opportunity to leave his mark on the city. He envisioned a Rome that was grander and more beautiful than before. But for the people of Rome, this vision was a bitter pill to swallow. They saw it not as a testament to Rome's resilience, but as a monument to Nero's vanity and disregard for their plight. While Nero saw it as an opportunity to rebuild Rome in his vision, many saw it as a confirmation of his guilt. The aftermath of the fire and Nero's response to it was a turning point, setting the stage for the dramatic fall from grace that was to come. The Great Fire of Rome marked the beginning of the end for Nero. With Rome still smoldering from the devastating fire, Nero found himself at the center of a maelstrom of public outrage. His golden palace, the Domus Aurea, built on the ashes of the city, was seen as a symbol of his disregard for the suffering of his people. This blatant display of opulence amidst widespread devastation led to a dramatic decline in Nero's popularity. The people of Rome began to revolt, their trust in their emperor shattered. The revolts were not just confined to Rome, but spread across the empire. This widespread unrest came to a head in the spring of 68 AD, when the Galba, the governor of Hispania, declared himself the rightful emperor. The Roman Senate, sensing Nero's growing weakness, declared him an enemy of the state. Nero, once the most powerful man in Rome, was now a fugitive in his own city. In June of 68 AD, facing capture and execution, Nero chose to take his own life. His last words, "What an artist dies in me," echoed the grandiose self-image he held till the end. With his death, the Julio-Claudian dynasty, which had ruled Rome for almost a century, came to an end. Historians have debated Nero's guilt for centuries. Some argue that Nero, with his penchant for theatricality and grandeur, orchestrated the fire to make way for his palace. Others believe that the fire was an accident and Nero an easy scapegoat. But what is undeniable is the fact that Nero's actions in the aftermath of the fire, his indifference towards the suffering of his people, and his obsession with his palace, led to his downfall. The fire may not have been lit by Nero, but it certainly consumed him. Nero's reign ended in disgrace, but the question remains, did he set Rome on fire? So, did Nero really set Rome on fire? This question has been the subject of intense debate among historians and scholars for centuries. The evidence, like the embers of the fire itself, is scattered and shrouded in the mists of time. On one hand, we have the accounts of ancient historians like Tacitus and Suetonius, who suggest that Nero may have orchestrated the fire. They describe him as a tyrant with a penchant for grandeur, a man who could have razed Rome to the ground to make way for his opulent palace, the Domus Aurea. These accounts are compelling, painting a picture of a ruler who would stop at nothing to realize his visions of grandeur. However, these accounts must be taken with a grain of salt. Tacitus and Suetonius wrote their histories several decades after the fire, and their narratives may have been influenced by the political climate of their time, particularly the widespread anti-Nero sentiment among the Roman elite. On the other hand, there's evidence that points away from Nero's involvement. Some sources suggest that Nero was actually in Antium, miles away from Rome when the fire broke out. Furthermore, Nero's swift response to the fire, his relief efforts, his plans for rebuilding the city, and his implementation of new fire prevention measures seem inconsistent with the actions of a man who had just committed arson on a citywide scale. Modern scholarship tends to lean towards the latter view. Many historians today believe that while Nero certainly took advantage of the fire to build his palace, there is insufficient evidence to definitively prove that he was the architect of the disaster. The fire of Rome, they argue, was likely a tragic accident, a calamity that was exploited but not engineered by Nero. The truth about Nero's involvement in the fire may never be known, but it remains one of the most enduring mysteries of ancient history. As we delve deeper into the past, we are reminded that history is often as complex and multifaceted as the people who make it. The Great Fire of Rome and Nero's possible involvement is a tale of power, ambition, and tragedy. We journeyed through the years of Nero's reign and the infamous day when Rome was engulfed in flames. We examined Nero's actions during the fire and the aftermath that led to his downfall. It's crucial to remember that the fire's impact was far-reaching, altering the course of the Roman Empire. The blaze's devastation paved the way for Nero's ambitious urban development plans, including the creation of his opulent palace, the Domus Aurea. Yet it also precipitated his eventual downfall. As for Nero's legacy, it remains shrouded in controversy. The narrative of Nero as the heartless emperor who fiddled while Rome burned is a potent image. However, some argue that Nero was a victim of circumstance, caught in a disastrous event that spiraled beyond his control. Whether Nero was the villain or the victim, the Great Fire of Rome left an indelible mark on the history of the Roman Empire.